Macbeth is arguably one of the greatest anti-heroes of all time. In this pod, we'll look at his character in closer detail.
One of Shakespeare's techniques for introducing a character is to have other characters talk about them before they appear on stage. Before we even meet him, the captain tells us that Macbeth is brave and fights passionately, even when the odds are against him. The king reinforces this idea by calling him Noble Macbeth. This shows that he is held in high esteem by his officers and his king, a fact which makes his betrayal and downfall even more tragic.
Macbeth is not the first villainous protagonist to appear in a Shakespeare play. That honour goes to Richard III. He's not even the first to have doubts about killing, like Hamlet. But he is the first to set out to do something he knows is completely wrong and to be deeply conflicted by it. In Act 1, Scene 7, Macbeth says, "This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips." This is him directly acknowledging that the prize he seeks will have deadly consequences.
The main factor that swings his indecision towards committing the crime is his wife. Macbeth is heavily influenced by his wife, something which is quite unusual for the era. If we compare Macbeth with Julius Caesar, both Brutus and Caesar's wives' opinions are dismissed, when listening to them would have saved the lives of both main characters.
Macbeth is driven by the desire to be perceived as manly by his wife. She knows this and manipulates him frequently. For example, when referring to the murder plot, she says, "When thou durst do it, then you were a man." Initially, there seems to be a level of equality in their relationship. He begins his relationship by calling her his dearest partner in greatness. However, over time, it's arguable that their relationship sours. When she dies, his only response is, "She should have died hereafter." He seems to begrudge her timing more than her death itself. It's possible that this is because he sees her as directly responsible for the events that have unfolded, and he begins to resent her for it.
Macbeth is initially skeptical of the witch's supernatural prophecies. He presses them for further explanation, stating that to be king stands not within the prospect of belief. However, once the first of their prophecies comes true, he begins to fixate upon the idea of becoming king. He realizes the only way to do so would be to murder the king and claim the throne. Macbeth feels guilt entertaining this thought. He shamefully encourages the stars to hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires.
Throughout the story, we're left uncertain as to whether Macbeth is hallucinating due to stress and guilt, or if he is being plagued by supernatural ghosts. Almost immediately after killing the king, he hears voices telling him he will sleep no more. When Banquo is murdered, Macbeth sees his ghost. He becomes increasingly fixated upon the supernatural and more reliant upon the witches, going to them again for further information. His paranoia increases throughout, before eventually reaching the point when he arranges the murder of Banquo, his one-time friend.
How much of Macbeth's fate was in his own control? Were the witches really to blame for giving him the idea of acquiring the throne? Maybe you think his wife was the one who convinced him to perform the murder. Or maybe you think that Macbeth is solely responsible for his actions, which is exactly why he arranges the murder of Banquo, without involvement from his wife or the witches.
There's a lot to unpick with this character. Whatever points you make, be sure to justify your answers with evidence from the text.